Today, I'm going to teach you how to avoid making mistakes on the first date. Perhaps you have a first date lined up and you're nervous. You want to make a good impression. Or maybe you have a track record of getting a first date with a girl, but then she seems to ghost you. You don't get a text back. Or maybe she texts you back after the date and says that she's not interested in anything serious, or that she needs to focus on herself. Now's not the right time for her to get into a relationship. If you hear any of these common objections or you get ghosted, chances are you are doing something wrong on these dates that is pushing these women away. Because the common indicator of growth from courtship to relationship is that you get consistent dates. They grow closer and closer to you as time goes by. And if you made a good impression on the first date, and there is mutual chemistry and compatibility, then she will want a second date, so on and so forth. And if you are not getting this result in your dating life, then you are doing something wrong. And in today's video, I'm going to give you some insight in how you can avoid screwing up a first date. So there are 7 common mistakes that men typically make, and this is what I'm going to break down. So let's start with number 1. The first thing that you never want to do on a first date is to show off. There is a lot of modern dating advice out there that encourages men to be all bravo and macho and show off their achievements, their investments, their assets, all of their accolades and titles in a vain attempt to impress a woman. And the reality is, the gold diggers will love this. But the genuine women are going to see right through your insecurity. The reality is, if you want to show off about your achievements and everything you have in your life, all the material, all the superficial things you've achieved, then to a righteous woman who has a value screwed on, this is going to signal to her that you are compensating for what you feel you lack inside. So her attraction will go down for you. You might not get a second date if you're doing this often. And the only type of woman whose interest will go up, as I mentioned before, will be the gold diggers, right? The women who are also vain and superficial. But even that is short-lived. So how do you avoid making this mistake? Simple. You don't showcase and you don't go into detail about your assets. If you have a nice watch, you don't need to talk about it. If you have a nice car, don't mention it. You have a nice property, you don't have to bring it up. If you make a lot of money, you don't have to talk about that. If she asks questions about what do you do, tell me about your career or your business or your lifestyle, of course you can ask. You can give an in-depth answer, but you don't want to talk in a way that's flaunting what you have. Because it's far more impressive for you to be humble and for her to find out in the future that this man does take care of himself. This man is successful. Because ultimately, genuine women, they don't really care how much you make. They want to see what quality of man you are. Because good women know there are plenty of men out there who make a lot of money, but it's a huge cope to make up for their insecurities. And deep down, those men are little insecure teenage boys who have never grown up. And they're using their success or their wealth as a crutch for how weak they feel inside. So it's far more impressive for you to just be humble with anything you've achieved and let her slowly figure out those things over time. Do not volunteer that in-depth information related to your achievements or your success. Let her slowly learn that about you over time. The second common mistake men make is they show up to the date giving a woman presents. One of the worst things you can do is go up on a first date and shower a woman with an expensive or extravagant gift. Even if you do something small, like a box of chocolates or flowers. Why does this scare away genuine women? Simple. This comes across as a bribe for sex or a bribe for relationship. These are things that you do when you have a girlfriend or a wife. Once she has built an emotional attachment with you, then in the future you can give her gifts. As long as her emotional attraction is high and she's reciprocating, she's grateful, she appreciates you, on special occasions, that's okay. But a woman you have just met on a first date does not have an emotional attachment to you. So if you show up to the first date with all of these gifts, it's coming across as very hot and heavy. And it can also induce a lot of fear in her, making her afraid that you're too needy. You're trying to rush and lock her down as soon as possible because you're afraid of her getting away. Do not give presents or gifts of any kind on the first date. You give the gift of your presence, your time, and your availability, because ultimately you're both showing up on that date to see if you're both a good match for each other. She wants to get to know you for you, and you want to get to know her for her. You don't expect her to come up on the first date with a present or a gift, do you? Exactly. So you shouldn't do that either. Get to know each other. Show up as yourself. Be authentic and genuine. Don't try and buy her love with a gift or materialism. Just be you. Okay? And I actually have further information on when is it appropriate to give a woman gifts in another video I made recently, which I'll link down below. The third mistake that men make is they brag about how attractive they are or how other women want them. So I see a lot of guys like to try and sell the woman on different reasons, why she should be with him, why she should be more serious with him. And they like to talk about how successful they are at getting beautiful women, how many pretty girls they've dated, how many beautiful women crave their attention. And to a genuine woman with values, she's going to see this and it screams that you're insecure or that you're someone who's immoral and you just sleep around and hook up. You're superficial. Because the reality is, while you have a good intention of trying to show her that you're an awesome catch, you're trying to give her a reason why you're amazing, all you will succeed in doing is communicating to her that you are trying to prove your worth. And the reality is, a woman knows that a masculine man who is handsome does not have to boast about how many beautiful women have hit on him or tried to get him on a date or complimented him, because she knows he's good looking. Of course he's gotten attention from the ladies. And women know by your body language, by your character, by your confidence, the way you walk, the way you talk, and of course your reputation, what she hears from other people, she will know and learn everything about you that there is to know. And what's worse is, there are some guys out there who will lie to a woman and they will say, yeah, all these beautiful women want me and find me attractive, because they're trying to prove social value to her. And if you're lying about these things, it's just as bad. And if you're good looking, let her ask you about your sexual past. Let her ask you questions about what you've learned by being with other women, how many women you've been with, things like that. You don't volunteer that. You don't have to sit there and say, hundreds of women have complimented me, to try and make yourself look better. All that shows is insecurity. Ultimately, she's a beautiful woman, right? The girl you're going on a date with. Do you think she needs to tell you about all the hundreds of guys that hit on her since she's been a young woman? Of course not. It's evident. She's beautiful, she's attractive, she's always been hit on. You know she's attractive, she knows she's attractive too. End of story. And if she starts to sit there on a date talking about how hot she is and how many men want her, you're actually going to be turned off. In fact, it's quite disrespectful. Why does she need to bring up other men? Exactly. So you should not be there bringing up or bragging about other women that have wanted you in the past. Yes, you should be honest and upfront about your body count, about your sexual history, but when it comes to the in-depth details of what's happened with every particular woman, let her ask you. Okay? Because as well, this can make the woman feel, when you're bragging, that you're comparing other women to her, which is disrespectful and can make her think that you've settled for her. You know? How would you feel if you're on a first date and a beautiful woman starts to compare you and bring up other guys that want her? Not very good, right? So this is something that you don't want to do. The fourth mistake is talking badly about an ex-girlfriend or an ex-wife. There's a lot of men out there who, especially if you're older and you've had lots of relationships, they think that it's a good idea to go to a first date and talk shit, as they commonly say, about an ex-lover. All this shows is that you are bitter, butthurt, and if you don't work out with her, she'll be the next one that you're going to be talking crap about. So do not ever talk badly about ex-girlfriends or ex-wives. When we go to the Bible in Corinthians, Paul instructs us to use our words to edify and build others up, always speaking truth with love. So if you have to talk about an ex because she asks you a question, you say the truth without tearing down their character. Okay? Because a woman knows that if you trash talk your exes, she will be added to the pile. If you were ever to be in a serious relationship, she knows what would happen if it were to end. So this is going to make her feel uncomfortable around you. If she brings up questions about your past, or more specifically your ex, then you can tell her the truth without bad-mouthing her. For example, you can say, look, it didn't work out with me and her. Maybe she cheated on me and I had to walk away. However, the breakup taught me to raise my standards, to place more importance on integrity and weeding out red flags. Even though I had to walk away, it made me value myself. I have no hatred towards her and I wish her all the best. God bless her. And you leave it just like that. Because that shows that even though you've been through something really bad, because I'm sure some of you listening to this, you've been with toxic women, you've had a difficult relationship, she's done bad things to you, right? If that's the case, your ability to walk away shows maturity. The fact that it doesn't bother you shows that you forgive and you're not bitter, that you're not stuck in the past. So those are all green flags on your end that she's going to look for. So by telling her the truth and communicating how your previous relationships with an ex-girlfriend or ex-wife, whatever, has made you grow into a better man, made you stronger, more confident, it shows her that you're a man who can take anything that life throws at him. However, if we flip it to the opposite spectrum and you sit there and start telling her how much you hate your ex because she cheated on you and she's a piece of crap, and you go on this emotional rant about your hatred towards women in the past, it will just show her that you're not fully healed and you're negative. After all, you're going on a first date to get to know each other and have fun. How can she associate positive emotions with being around you if you're being weak and insecure? Furthermore, how would you feel if you're on a first date and she's talking about how crap all men are and how much she hates her ex and she never forgives him and she wishes death upon him? You're sitting there thinking, wow, this woman's very bitter. So women will see that the same way. Do not talk badly about ex-girlfriends or wives. The conversation will come up, preferably sooner than later. You can even volunteer about it if need be. But you can talk about the situation with love, with truth, with kindness. Moving on. The fifth mistake that men make on a first date is taking a woman to something expensive. The reality is, this is one of the worst things you can do. If you've just started getting to know each other, you want to keep it low investment, low risk. A first date, if you've vetted her already on a call, for example, it's safe to do a nice dinner. If not, I would keep it to a coffee, drinks in the evening, something low investment. So if she turns out to be a catfish or someone difficult, you can walk away without having wasted much time and money. And especially if you haven't vetted a woman's character and she turns out to be a superficial gold digger and you invite her out to an expensive restaurant, she's going to get an expensive drink, an expensive meal. She's probably not even going to thank you. And she won't even pretend like she's looking for her purse to maybe help out with the payment. Obviously, you should be the gentleman and pay on the first date, 100%. But there's a test with that. You can be on a first date and when you go to pay, some women will just sit there with their arms folded. They feel entitled. Genuine women will at least thank you or, hey, can I help out with the drink? Can I pay? Even though they want to make sure you're the gentleman, it's the fact that they're at least looking to shows a good sign. Because good women from time to time, they'll want to spoil you too. But if she sits there like Mrs. Princess, that's a bad sign. Okay? And especially if you've not vetted her and she is a gold digger and you take her to an expensive restaurant, she will expect expensive things later on consistently. And if you spoil a woman right away, she's going to lose respect for you because, again, you don't have an emotional connection with her. And it can also come across as you're being insecure. You're trying to compensate. Why are you trying to take a girl you've just met, a stranger, to a high-end expensive restaurant? For what? What if it doesn't work out? What if there isn't a second date? What have you done? You've wasted your time. And a lot of guys think, if I take a woman to an expensive restaurant, now she owes me a second date because I've invested a lot of money in her. And again, that only pushes away genuine women and they'll feel uncomfortable. But the gold diggers will love it. Even the gold diggers might not even give you a second date because if they think you're weird or creepy, then, they'll walk anyways. But on your end, it's just a huge mistake to waste your time and money on an expensive date right away. Once you've gotten to know her more and she shows you she's genuine, you see a clear pattern in her behavior that she actually wants you for who you are, then you can treat her and spoil her from time to time. Okay? So keep your investment small and inexpensive until you determine she has a genuine interest in you. And again, at the beginning, you were both strangers. Even though you've assessed some type of compatibility, if that's the case, you still want to invest in her slowly and appropriately. The sixth mistake men make on a first date is they will look at other women to make themselves look cool. I know this sounds stupid, but I've heard a lot of stories of guys doing this. They think that talking about other beautiful women or looking at an attractive waiter or checking out other girls, staring at them, is going to make him look masculine, make him look alpha, make him look like he's confident. The reality is all it shows is that you're lustful, that you're not into the girl that you're with on a date, and you're probably a man who has low integrity. And this is exactly why you want to stay away from advice from your friends, especially people in your life who don't have a track record of having a good, healthy, happy, fulfilling relationship. Because even for women, there's lots of stories of young men and women who they are misled to believe that you need to always play it cool with the opposite sex. You always need to show that you're not that into them, that you can always get someone else. This is absolutely disgusting. The grass isn't usually greener on the other side of the fence, right? The grass is greener where you water it. And if you're on a first date, you're there to give her undivided attention. And if you're on a date with a girl that you think is a 10 out of 10, you give her that attention. You give her your presence, your undivided time. You don't look at other women. It's disrespectful. How would you feel if you're on a first date with a girl and she's looking at an attractive waiter or other men in different tables or across the bar? It's kind of like, why is she on a date with you if she doesn't think you're that attractive? It's disrespectful, right? And there's a lot of misinformation out there, and especially if you have a lot of degenerate friends or you're around people you're with the wrong crowd, they will tell you, yeah, when you're on a first date, you need to look cool. Don't show that you're into them. You need to be laid back and chill and be a cold fish. That's not righteous. That's actually disgusting behavior. Because a lot of men think that staring at other women is going to make them appear more confident. But in reality, all this will communicate to her is that you have low interest in her and that you have no control over your lust. A woman knows that a good man with morals who is interested in getting to know her will be focused on her and on her alone on the date. If you keep looking at other women, don't be surprised if you don't hear back from her ever again. It doesn't make you look cool, it makes you look immoral. So if you've been told by a friend or a buddy, or you've seen modern dating coaches tell you that, don't follow that advice. And finally, the sixth most common mistake that men make on the first date is that they spend the entire day talking about themselves. I've seen a lot of guys go on autistic rants when they're on a first date, talking about football, Star Wars, video games, something specific from some fantasy stuff that they're into. I don't know, a movie, a TV series, an interest that they don't share with the girl. And they just start talking and talking, and they talk themselves out of getting another date. Because they're not getting to know the girl. They're only talking about themselves. And they get lost in this rant. I understand for a lot of young men, they haven't really had an experience where they've interacted with a beautiful woman. And as men being doers, they think that they need to do more. But the reality is, she's already on a date with you because she finds you attractive, most likely, if you vetted her properly. All you have to do now is get to know her. And if you're going on a first date and you hog the whole conversation, you come across as selfish. Feminine women love men that are calm and collected. You shouldn't be sitting there volunteering all the information about your life story unless she asks. And when she does ask, then you can respond in depth to her questions. But don't go overboard. Because if she's truly interested in getting to know you more, she will ask. I've had a lot of clients and subscribers tell me that when they're on a call with a girl or even a first date with a girl, the girl's not asking him any questions. She's only talking about herself. What does that signal to me? That girl's not interested. She's into herself. Or she's insecure and she's masking something. Because the reality is, if a woman's interested in you, she's going to ask you questions about you. She's going to want to get to know you. And if you have a knowledge gap in regards to courtship and relationship, you might think that on a first date, you have to pitch the girl everything about your life because this is the one shot you get. Instead of asking her questions and showing an interest in her. Especially if she's a beautiful woman. She's used to having guys just flirt with her, hit on her, use pickup lines, treat her like a piece of meat. She wants to feel like a human being with a soul. She has interests, she has desires, she has values and morals. She wants you to ask about her. Make her feel like a person on the first date. Because if you're truly interested in her, then you want to get to know her. Obviously, this goes both ways. If she's interested in knowing you more, then she's going to ask you questions as well. And since women speak on average more words in a day than a man, let her do most of the talking. When you ask her a question and she goes into the topic, ask her another question. Keep going deeper and deeper and really letting her talk about what interests her, make her feel connected to you. Obviously, you want to remember this information as well. You don't want to just sit there and look at her beautiful body. And a lot of guys do that. They sit there, they're staring at the girl's beauty and everything she's saying goes in one ear and out the other. And he's not listening. That will come back on you in the future. If you get another date, she will tell you, remember when I said that on the first date? And you won't remember because you weren't retaining the information. So pay attention, really engage with her, be present. You know, she says something interesting. Wow, really awesome, cool, tell me more. Show actual interest. Very few women have had men that have shown that in them. Because most guys are lustful or they're immoral. So they're either talking about themselves to like show off, or they're only trying to flirt with the girl sexually to get her to the bedroom. And you can really stand apart by asking her in-depth questions about her values, about who she is, what she likes, what makes her tick. That's what you want, going into her heart, who she is as a person. And you do that by asking quality questions. And a lot of guys throw away a potentially great date because they're always talking about themselves. So allow her to talk and to become more comfortable with you. All right? And obviously, make sure it's reciprocal. Is she asking you questions in return? You know, she should be saying that as well. Oh, I've been talking so much. Let me ask you something too. Right? That's important to see as well. Because if you hog the conversation and you spend the entire day talking about yourself, you will come across as someone who's very selfish. You know? And especially if she's more of a quiet girl, more shy, more feminine, you know, it's going to take time for her to open up. And if you're like dominating the conversation, she can't get a word in, she's going to shut down. Okay? So again, when she asks you something, give her a detailed reply and then go back to asking her even more questions. You remember, we're on a first date. It's almost like an interview, but obviously you can be playful. You can talk about other topics and be genuine with that as well. You don't want to be robotic, you know, use playful banter, talk about general topics and interject questions in between. Okay? Don't be too structured, but also don't be this free fall where you just talk about yourself. You're on the date to get to know her, so show that. Never ever make that mistake. So those are the 7 most common mistakes that I've seen guys make on a first date. Again, to overview, if you're showing off, big mistake. If you're giving a present on the first date, insecurities. If you're bragging about other women, you're showcasing insecurities and lust. If you're bad-mouthing ex-girlfriends or ex-wives or ex-lovers, it showcases that you're bitter, unforgiving, and that you probably not a good candidate for her to continue getting to know. If you're taking it to expensive places right away, again, bribe for sex, bribe for a relationship, similar to buying her gifts for her right away. You staring at other women or waitresses on the first date showcases that you're lustful, that you're immoral. And you obviously talking about yourself on the first date confirms to her that you're selfish and probably not that interested in her. So with that said, I hope this video has been of value to you. Let me know in the comments down below if there's anything here that you would add or that you have seen in your own experience. And if you'd like to learn more about what I teach, all the links down below are in the description to book a call to join my relationship mastery course, to join my free community, or check out my book. If you have a case study or anything else you would like to talk about me privately, my email is in the description as well. And with that said, hope you'll have a wonderful day. God bless all of you and your families.